Do you hold ETH but don't know what to do with it? Want to earn those juicy liquid staking derivative yields but don't know where to start? Well, FrxETH is there for you. FrxETH is Frax's native LSD solution, allowing you to earn boosted yields in multiple ways on your ETH. If you want to get started, go to app.frax.finance and turn your ETH into FrxETH today.
Welcome to the post game. We're here. We just ran a marathon. Dave is ready.
I'm ready.
What is this?
Is my
Roma 1960.
Olympic... Yeah.
It's dope. Where did you get that?
I got it on Melrose. I got it at this new store called Heroin, but like heroin as in the female hero. But I thought it was heroin because I just keep going back to the store because they just have such dope retro Adidas clothes. It's funny because I'm a very big fan of just nostalgia, vaporwave, anything with like anything that invokes like feelings of the past, whether it's like the 80s, 90s, and all that fun stuff. And it was like a modern take on it. That's what my fashion was like. But then I'm just like, what if I just go to the source, go to like clothes actually manufactured in that time? That's me down the rabbit hole to getting clothes like this. So, yeah,
that's great. So that was a long one, guys. That was almost 2 hours for the episode. That's probably the longest one that we've done yet.
No, I think Drake was
pretty long as well too. There was a lot of stuff here.
Let's unpack.
Yeah. Where do you guys want to start?
Where do you want to start?
Well, I thought, okay, so here's a couple of things that I thought were really interesting about this, right? So I really like the point towards the end where they were talking about like differences in regime changes where, you know, a lot of LPs were in Curve, but then they like went to Balancer to try to like institute new regime changes where like they didn't have it's harder to get the voting power in Curve now, but maybe if they went to Balancer, they'd be able to get that voting power. What did you guys think about that?
I mean, it just sounds like protocols acting in their self-interest.
I understand, but do you think that there is some sort of like, because the majority of the guests that we've had on for the past while have been very like pro Curve, right? And I think the Arrakis guys were as well too. That you know, they said some very nice things about Michael, but I think they were more skeptical about the lasting power of Curve as a platform. And I think they might have been wrong. I think they were taking about it in the wrong way because the way that it's played out has not been that Curve has been a platform for like users, like normal users. It's more about like protocols themselves getting into the Curve war games, right? Not it like individual users getting into the Curve war, but like now we have like nation states, these protocols essentially like fighting for power on Curve. And I thought that was kind of what they didn't see, where maybe they thought about it as like, oh, we have different like liquidity providers, but what we've seen it play out, and this has been kind of a running theme, is that like, you know, we talk about like Frax as a whole is owning all this Curve, or like Convex as a whole. We don't really ever talk about like individual investors who have like large amounts of CRV and Convex.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point that, you know, Curve and Uniswap serve different like audiences and users at different levels. You know, Uniswap is more for, you know, individual traders or, you know, entities or whatnot, trying to get the best trade execution. While, you know, Curve is a DAO level infrastructure product for getting deep liquidity, especially for stable coins and stable to stable pairs, whether it be like ETH pegged or maybe like BTC pegged in the future. So I think they're just different, and they both have their strengths, and they both do their strengths very well, and that's clearly evident. I think, Kit, what do you think?
I feel like it's always great to have folks on both sides and come on and talk about it. I want Flywheel to be that platform to be able to give voice to all the threaders, but also the projects, right? Building on top of these things. And I felt like we
need to have balance.
Yeah, definitely. And I think both sides had great points.
So what I really love was him talking about like the more utility aspect. So there's this like long conversation about like, okay, so there's all these positions on Uniswap 3 and everybody's talking about like toxic flow, but like you don't really know why people are placing those positions, right? Some people could be like limiting into an order, or they could be DCAing into an order, or they could be DCAing out of an order, and it's in their, like, without understanding their own interests of like why they're getting into that order or out of that order. you don't really know why and what for that position is. And so it's harder to say like, this is toxic flow, right?
This is the part of the episode that probably interested me the most, is the whole linguistics and intention behind actions within Uniswap v3, whether like toxic order flow. You can't just generalize everything that's being done as toxic order flow, because that's not the intention of, per se the LP, or maybe they want that toxic order flow. If they want it, then it's not toxic, then it's healthy.
Yeah.
And so like this goes on to what I was saying in the podcast, that the terminology to describe providing liquidity and market making in AMMs and Uniswap v3 and others has not evolved to catch up with what's actually going on, and to actually describe the intentions of the people using these platforms and protocols.
Yeah, because when you think about, especially in like lower liquidity assets, using Uniswap to DCA in and out is the most efficient way to do it, because you set your average price that you're going to get, and there is no slippage, right? Like if you fully go from one side of the order to the other, like you've gotten your entire trade at the average price that you want to, plus a little bit of fees, and you've gotten no slippage. Because if you had just tried to buy it all in one go, it may not have worked out as well for you. And
not only is there no slippage, you earn fees.
You earn fees as well too.
You earn it's the opposite.
Anti-slippage.
People are paying you to fill your order.
So I think that the reframing, again, like a lot of Uniswap, and it comes back to like the whole options thing, is like just reframing what Uniswap is, right? And like kind of, shifting the narrative towards understanding Uniswap in a way where it's more intentional, because it's more of like, Uniswap's more of like a Swiss Army knife rather than just like a big machete, right? Where
it's the liquidity computer. I love that term.
Yeah, that's a great term. Yeah.
And then positions are the low level language. So I wonder, will it be the higher level language? I guess like Palm is the higher level language in this.
Yeah. So what did you guys learn about Arrakis and Palm that you didn't know before this in this session?
I didn't realize how many strategies were in a single vault. I didn't realize like in the finer details of that. Because like before, like I said, like I was part of GUni, and that was so simple and basic. And to see how it has evolved since to be this whole, decentralized market making machine is really cool.
Yeah. And what about you, Kiet?
For me, I got really excited because I love diving into the products, right? As Dave can tell, and that's probably the reason why we ran a little bit long here. And for me, it's just the finer details and mechanics that they have already thought about, how like back testing is part of the onboarding service, which I think is critical. They not only give you the tools, but they give you the instructions to use the tool and the best use cases for the tool, all in one package. So I think that is the right way to onboard new DAOs and protocols. So I learned that today.
Yeah, that was cool. I really liked how they talked about, or actually, I liked your question about, you asked them like, how do you backtest tokens which have never come out yet?
Yeah, Kiet, one of my favorite parts of the interview was when I asked about risk, and because that was your question, you're just like, yeah, hit that, get at them, get critical.
Yes. Dave is so nice all the time, when he's so bullish on all the projects. And I was like, Dave, hit back.
I'm bullish on everything. I'm an idealist and an optimist. I can't hide it. Whether I have a stake or not, I'm just like, I want everybody to win. Wag me.
True.
Okay, what was your favorite part of the episode?
I think it's the vibes. Like I felt like it was such a great conversation. It was so natural. Everybody is, this is kind of why we built this pod, right? It's for folks like ourselves who are really deep in DeFi, and we just don't really have another place to go. And yet here we just had a full-on 2-hour conversation about internet money and the mechanics of the future of France. Where can you find that? So that for me was my favorite part.
Yeah, this is what Flywheel does best. Let's be real. Just straight up conversations with builders, just talking shop, literally just talking shop on chain about what's going on.
Yeah. So I guess the last question for both of you is like, where is Frax going to fit in all of this? Like what's going to happen over the future with Frax and Arrakis?
That's a really interesting question, because I was like thinking about that. I think if there's more community demand for, like liquidity in other places, like Uniswap v3, then I could see, more of a collaboration happening beyond GUni and, the Frax DAI pool. But for right now, I don't see anything in the short term. But it would be really cool to see an AMO built using Arrakis v2, because I know that, for example, with oracles, like let's say for like Fraxland Oracle, they can use Uniswap v3. They could use Arrakis v2, to have liquidity in there to have a more accurate Fraxland Oracle. So that's like where I see a collaboration possibly happening.
Can I go?
Yeah, of course.
I did have some thoughts here because what happened to us with the Frax 3 CRV pool. We pretty much got smashed in that pool, right? Like every three pool that was paired with, and I'm like, if we had some kind of automated, even more so AMO where we could pull some liquidity and save some of the USDT, and I feel Arrakis could have been really useful there, right? If we had maybe. Like we still offer the liquidity for the people from our curve pool as we do, but maybe we also have some liquidity over in Uniswap v3. So it's not just all concentrated in the curve. Yes, we are part of the curve ecosystem and we own all of that. But I feel like it's because maybe we lack the tools to manage. Because the Frax are only 8 guys and they had to manage so many dexes. They rather just deal with one dex and not have to venture over to the Uniswap side and manage that too.
Uniswap v3 could act as a good backup, or not backup, but inventory for Curve.
Yeah,
like the opposite, basically. You have your inventory in Uniswap v3.
Well, here's a question. A question. If the bunny guys are already providing like 3 tick wide, like Frax liquidity, like at the most optimal point to provide it when the peg is, what it is, right? 1-to-1 for USDC. Like where else could we use that service that Arrakis is providing? Is it with like the Frax pairs or some of the other
I was thinking
ones?
that too, like Frax FPI, FPIS, maybe alternative pairs that isn't Frax USDC, Frax Tether or Frax DAI. There's like a few different possibilities. I would like to see more of like Palm ruled out and also just, take in this interview a bit more and let it marinate a bit. And then I can think, oh, wait, there's something there. Because like with Reserve, I was like, boom, 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 boom. There's so much. Like I got all these different ideas. With Arrakis, like I see it more of like being a inventory at the moment. But yeah.
Agreed. As a tool for Frax to use, as the way I think it. We should be open to it. We shouldn't just close it off just because it's not Curve. Just my take.
I think so. I agree with that. I think we're all in agreement that we should be open to it, and I would love to see a further continuation of that partnership between Arrakis and Frax. But anyways,
can we go back to the one last question? Essentially, coming back to the first question about regime changes. Wonder why, like there's other places that Frax could have used its model of deploying liquidity into to take a bigger portion of these protocols, right? So like you think about Balancer, Frax could have deployed a significant portion of its treasury into Balancer to start gaining BAL, and then essentially doing the same thing that it did on Curve, but in the Balancer space.
I don't think it wanted to fracture liquidity. I mean, I think it just wanted to continue accumulating CRV and CVX.
So if that's the case, right? So coming back to that, so if these bigger protocols have to look at it and say like, look, okay, like, is it better to fracture liquidity or is it just to participate in the curve wars and double down on that? Like, what does that mean? Is there actually a regime change taking place, or is it just a short-term dislocation of liquidity into these other protocols?
I think it's a short-term dislocation liquidity into the other protocols, to be honest. I think Curve is king.
Curve maximalism.
I'm sorry, yeah. I mean, just look at Reserve. Reserve is just market buying CVX for a reason. Market buying Aura. Sorry. At the moment.
Sorry, Balancer guys. Look, I think
I like Balancer though. I've seen products use Balancer. Balancer's a really cool tool.
Great product. Yeah.
Yeah. But Curve, in terms of, what Curve is trying to do with liquidity, VE liquidity. Liquidity is king. Curve is is like the foundation of that.
It is.
So, we like what we like. It is what it is.
Yeah. You get what you get at Flywheel. We're all about flywheels. And so on that note, thanks everyone for joining us for this post game. If you want to, follow along for all our post games, hit that bell button, subscribe down below, subscribe to our Substack.
It's been 2 hours, David.
It's been 2 hours, as you can tell. Subscribe to our Substack. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Flywheel DeFi. Join the conversation on Telegram at Flywheel DeFi. Follow me on Twitter at DeFi Dave 22.
I'm at 0xcapital_K.
And I'm at traders_insight.
And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Everything said on this episode is not financial or tax advice. This channel is strictly for educational purposes and is not an investment advice or solicitation to buy or sell any assets or to make any financial decisions. This video is not tax advice whatsoever. Please talk to your accountant and do your own research.